Welcome to Hungover Podcast with your boys, Ivan and Julien.
What's
you
up,
can find
everyone?
Us every week, coming to you live on the Twitch. Also, SoundCloud, iTunes, and Google Play. And Julien, what do you think they can do on iTunes?
They can hopefully write us a review, possibly giving us 5 stars, but honestly, I think any amount of stars is better than no stars. So give us a review, it really helps with our visibility. Man.
That's right. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Very good.
Ready for the Metal Gear Solid run through. Anyway, now that I've got my normal voice back, hello, everyone. Every week we start our podcast with talking about what did we consume this week in media and alcohol. So, Julien, what'd you drink last night?
I've been drinking a lot of water lately. It's really healthy for you. Got to stay hydrated. Not only will your body thank you, but also you'll look better because your skin is just more bright and more, I guess, what's the word? Soft? I don't know. You'll feel a lot more hydrated in general. Lustrous. That's a good word. Yeah, so I've been drinking a lot of water. I've also been, we got a mint plant now, so we made some mint water, which was nice. You soak a little mint in the water, put it in a pitcher, throw it in the refrigerator. Now you got a tasty drink that has no calories. Pretty nice. I had some green tea as well. But Ivan,
that's excellent.
Yeah, trying to stay healthy. What media have I been consuming, you ask? I have been playing through more Final Fantasy X because I'm working on beating that game. I finally made it to the last round of bosses because these games never fucking end. They just have boss after boss after boss. I'm still excited to beat it so then I can start playing Final Fantasy X-2, the girls edition of Final Fantasy X, because he only plays the girls in the game. I don't know really? The story of the game. Well, I think I have no idea what the story is, but there's some connecting story where you play as 3 girls. There's 2 girls that are in Final Fantasy X that you do play as in the game, Yuna and Riku, and then there's a 3rd girl which I don't know the name of, and I have no idea who she is. I'll find out when I play it. So I've been looking forward to that because I'm trying to catch up on more Final Fantasy, as always. And then what else? The other thing that I did was I watched Hayao Miyazaki's The Wind Rises. I'm not sure how that translates from Japanese, because that's a weird name, wouldn't you say? The Wind Rises.
The Wind Rises? Yeah.
I guess it's not something you typically say. I guess Spirited Away is not something you typically say in English either.
Yes. The wind's picking up.
Yeah, the wind's picking up over here. Come on.
It's a strong breeze today.
I think
those were names that were rejected for the American translation.
Well, this movie is really a fantastic movie. I liked it. I wanted to show Nikki it because she hasn't seen it, and I've only ever seen it once. I saw it in theaters, which was nice. But yeah, I have the whole Blu-ray collection of his collective works, minus, I think he's probably making a new movie now, which is annoying because he said he was done, and that's why I bought this collection. God damn it. But having them on Blu-ray is really fantastic because I think animation, especially his movies in particular, from Studio Ghibli, are really, they really show well on if you have like a nice TV, and as high quality as possible as you can get, in terms of the formatting. So Blu-ray is definitely the way to go unless you can get a 4K.
Ultra HD. 4K.
Yeah. Obviously that's the way to go. But I don't even have a 4K TV. But I think animation, they can really play with the colors in a way that obviously traditional film and live action movies can't really do without looking fake, because it's an animation. So you have that already have that suspension of disbelief, right? Because you know it's an animation or a cartoon or an anime. So you can really just appreciate the colors that they're using. And Hayao Miyazaki typically uses a lot of, I think a lot of it is watercolor, if I'm not mistaken. But I know for a fact he won't make a movie, he won't start production on a movie without having a complete storyboard that he's drawn all pictures for. Like his storyboards are only pictures, I think, and he does the watercoloring for it. So that really translates over, obviously, to each frame of the movie, and that's why I really like animation a lot, because they can get each frame is absolutely intentional. Where they place the camera and everything, because they have complete control over that. So I think it's something to look at when you watch a movie, an anime, or things like that. So that's one thing I did. And then I also watched this 40-minute video on YouTube about it's titled "The Curse of Evangelion." It's about the anime Neon Genesis Evangelion, which is one of my favorite anime, I would say.
But isn't the creator of that, like, kind of wonky?
Yeah, probably. I don't know much about him. But this person that made this video goes into... if you're interested in watching the anime, or already have, I still think this is worth your watch. If you like the anime, that is. Because that anime is super philosophical and has a lot of deep meaning in it, especially from the Japanese perspective. And it's kind of a critique on Japanese society, which is kind of cool. Something I've been getting into. I've been studying the Japanese language for the past almost like 6 months now, so I'm catching up on it. I'm picking up some
you're
words.
You're a medium to advanced weeb?
I would say, yeah, I would definitely say that. I can read most Japanese text. I can read the text. It doesn't mean I know what it says, because they have an alphabet. But
I can do that with Arabic.
Exactly. So I'm like at that level now. So that makes me happy. I'm making some progress. But it's a really interesting anime, and and the subsequent. Sorry, I know you.
Subsequent is awesome.
I say subsequent because
I love how you say that.
I'm just weird. But the movies that follow are really interesting, actually. And I've only watched one of them, called End of Evangelion, which ends the series. But then there's 2 Rebuild movies. I think they're called Rebuild or Reboot. The second of which they basically retell the story of the anime, these 2 movies. The second of which is so meta. It's really meta in the fact that the second movie, or at least from my understanding of it, I need to watch it, discusses, or basically makes it at like a typical anime. So it changes all the characters and the themes of the anime, which are really dark and like psychologically creepy in some ways, and then like it's a really weird anime, and then it turns it into a regular anime that you would find, just like, as it were, like a crazy mech anime. So I'm gonna rewatch the series, hopefully, and then rewatch some of the movies. Watch some of the movies. I want to watch those. The other thing I wanted to tell you about, Ivan, is I actually picked up Super Robot Wars T for Nintendo Switch, the game I was telling you about. It's also on PS4.
Figured out how to get it.
Well, I saw there's a great video game store that I've shopped at a couple times, called Video Games New York. It's by St. Mark's Place. If you haven't gone there and you're a video game collector, it's super awesome to have this type of store. They import a bunch of games, so that's how I got this game. They also have refurbished systems, including going back to the NES. I think they might have some Atari stuff as well, and they just have pretty much every video game in physical form. They're starting to do. They're getting copies of, for video game collectors, that is. They're getting copies of various indie games in physical form, physical media. So if that's something you're interested in, go check them out if you're in New York City at any point. I think it's worth going to. And of course, supporting your local game store is awesome to me. I think that's a good idea. So that's why I decided to go there. Fuck GameStop, right?
I'm going to maybe Venmo you some money if they have the PS4 version, so that you can just purchase and send.
Well, yeah, I don't know if you want to buy it. Let me put it that way.
Oh no.
So I'm gonna try to do a review of the game on our YouTube channel. It is over the top anime as fuck, and I really appreciate that. And you get to use these characters a lot in all sorts of situations. But I'm not so keen on the strategy portion of the game, which is really what it's a strategy game. Come on. But again, I haven't beat the game yet, so I've only played the first couple of missions so far, and they're not like super crazy. And I think I need to bump up the difficulty as well, because it's pretty easy. You might have to play it on hard mode. So that game, I think it's pretty fun. I don't know if it's worth the price though. I paid $70 for it, which is, I mean, already asking a lot, but I mean, it's the price of importing a game, so understandable. I'll see if they have the PS4 version, and I'll send it to you if they do. But yeah, so that's about it for me. That's what I did. I watched a bunch of anime and I played a bunch of video games because I'm a weeb. What about you, Yvonne?
I have been really busy with the movie. So I'm there for at least 12 hours a day.
Can you tell us anything about this movie, or is it
yeah, I can. So the movie is called The Night House. It is a movie that is a psychological thriller / horror film. It is starring Rebecca Hall, who I didn't really know a lot about. But the basic trailer plot is that this is a woman whose husband has recently passed away before the film begins, and she's dealing with this kind of loss, and kind of it's a conversation about loss and psychology while also being kind of a horror psychological thriller movie. So you can guess what that means in terms of dealing with maybe a monster, maybe if things are real or not real, or maybe, however else that goes about. I'm not technically like...
She was in Iron Man 3.
Yeah. She's been in a few things. She's a really well-regarded theater actress. And her latest role, I think, for things that are coming out is Godzilla vs. Kong, the new Godzilla movie.
Nice.
In terms of people that would know her. But she's really well known in theater circles.
So
her father was like the founder of the Royal Shakespeare Company.
Oh, wow. So then this is... Oh, okay. So then this movie is coming out in theaters in a long time, though, because you guys are in production, right? Yeah,
it'll be at least a year
before
it gets released in whatever form.
And so do you get to meet the actors at all? Probably not. Or maybe
I will like in a see
brief
them
moment.
Around. I don't know that I will have a lot of interaction with them. That's not what my role is. I'm the art department coordinator, so I help run our office and make sure that we're doing coordination where it needs to happen with production and accounting and props and all that stuff. So I have a lot of I touch a lot of different things, and in that I will probably have some interaction with on-set stuff. But for the most part,
which is
what
really
I do.
That's really what you want to do, right? Work with the on-set production.
Yeah, I would like to do that. I really like the art department, so I would like to kind of stick around in this capacity for a little bit. The art department is a really interesting part of the movie because they produce the look and feel of the movie.
Yeah, of course.
Like the director has a vision, the production designer has a vision of how to accomplish that. They have to work together really well. And then on a smaller movie, you might have X or Y amount of other roles, from only having like 2 people in the art department to what we have, which is about 5 to 7 people.
So I'm guessing you guys talk a lot with the wardrobe department, right?
Our production
Or whatever
designer
that's
does
called.
a little bit. Yes. For the most part, costume does their own thing.
Oh, they do? Okay.
But we all have to agree on like color palette.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Yeah.
Tonality and things like that. That's our production designer discusses with the director and with the heads of other departments. Like, this is the color palette that we're going with. It fits our mood. And the director okays that with the production designer, and then everybody talks about like, okay, this is the kind of clothing. And then we have there's always conversations about like, what is this character's backstory? So the production designer and the director who directed The Ritual, I know I've said that before, but I don't know if you'd ever seen it.
I didn't see it.
I highly recommend The Ritual.
Okay.
And so they talk about like, where do these characters come from? What is their style? What is their life experience? And so that helps kind of inform what house do they live in? What kind of cars do they drive? What clothes do they wear?
Are you going to get free tickets to this movie?
I don't know. I don't think it's a large enough movie that'll have that kind of screening.
Okay.
And they can't do like official screenings, even for the cast and crew, until after it's released. Usually there's like after there's some sort of film release, there's like some sort of cast and crew release somewhere. But because this is shot in Syracuse and a lot of people are like on location or like away from their home base, then it's really harder to do that. Sometimes they do screenings of incomplete movies, so like the soundtrack will be wrong or some effects aren't finished, and then you can see kind of the general scope of what the movie is and where the movie's headed. But they can't do like, once the movie's complete, they can't show it to anybody unless it's a festival.
Right.
Because no festival will want to have a movie that's been screened anywhere else, even for like the people who made the movie.
And this movie will be coming out in theaters, or is it specifically?
Depends on who the distributor is.
And you don't know that yet, right?
I don't know that I basically ever will know who the distributor is until the movie like is distributed. Until that news comes about by who.
That's what I was always interested about. Like, how much do you, even when you're working on the movie, you don't know that much about it, right? Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it is. It is like, we see a lot of things like, I know what the script is, I know what the shoot dates are, I know what the locations and all that stuff is. So the actual like sausage making process, I see, but the process of where the money comes from, who's going to buy, and just how this movie is going to be distributed.
Only producers know that. What stuff,
festival?
Right?
That's producers and financiers. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not in the production staff. Usually that'll only be even higher up producers, like line producers. So line producers are basically the people who, like if you look at like a tax thing, they go line by line about how much everything, and they're basically the head producer on site. Like an executive producer is basically a money person.
Yep.
Then there's the line producer who basically sits just below them and is in charge of like making sure that nobody's overspending and getting more money if the movie needs more money. For instance, if we had sets that we had to build and then we didn't have enough money to do the sets the way that the director and the production designer and the whole crew want to make them, then the production designer and the director have to have a conversation, and the art director have to have a conversation with the producers and be like, hey, we need more money. And it's the producer's job then to find more money wherever. But it's also the producer's job to find who's going to buy the movie once the movie's made.
Whoa, yeah, and that's the difficult part. Even though they've... Yeah, right. Oh, that's a lot. I mean,
So,
I
like,
understand why it would be like it's not even necessary for you to know this information, but I just find it's like too. I don't know. I just feel like it's kind of secretive in some ways, but I understand why it would be.
yeah.
In some respects, it's just not necessary for you to know.
Stuff within our department, our production designer tries to make sure that it's kind of like open and discussed. So anything that the art director or the production designer knows, generally, even a PA will know.
And
Because she wants to have the team to have a lot of transparency and work together, and information to not be kind of secreted, so that it creates a closer working dynamic.
And to a certain, I mean, maybe we should just have a podcast about this because you know a lot more about it than I do working.
And I don't know all that much.
Yeah, but I think it would be an interesting. Tell us in the comment section below if anyone's watched this far.
I mean, we could just talk about this for a little bit.
Because I would like to have a deeper dive onto what it's like being on a movie set and things like that. I think we should go into our topics, but I just wanted maybe a closing comment. I think it's interesting. I don't know. Sometimes I hear stories about how actors, even the actors in the movie, don't even know what's going on to the full extent, right? I feel like I've heard so many interviews from Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford and the late Carrie Fisher, and also most recently who the Chewbacca just passed away, right? The guy who played him.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he just passed away, unfortunately. But I think it was 2 weeks ago. But even like they didn't even know it was gonna be the movie it was, because a lot of movies come together in the editing process, obviously. Right. So maybe to a certain extent, you might know more about the movie than what's this woman's name, Rebecca Hall, right? Yeah. To a certain extent. Right, that's interesting, but it's a whole process, and everyone has their role to play, right?
Yeah, but like even on production things, for instance, from the most recent Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah.
In that movie production, like what's his name? Ed Hardy, right? No,
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy. Yeah, Ed Hardy is the weird clothing stuff. Tom Hardy didn't understand how the movie was coming together, didn't really have faith in the production team.
Oh, right, yeah.
So, like, the voice that he created for Max was one that he just kind of was shitting and playing around with. But
they loved
after seeing the movie, he's like, wow, had I known that this was going to come together like this, I would have chosen different direction.
That's why you need a good editor, because editing is fucking magic. You can make anything look good with proper editing. It's kind of crazy. Which is why I think you should download. I know you haven't edited a video in a long time, but there's this program called DaVinci Resolve. It's free, and it's basically After Effects, and I think a lot of modern movie studios use this program. It's free. There's a free version of it anyways. And it's a powerful program. I think you should buy it.
Oh, it's part of the Blackmagic.
Yeah, Blackmagic. Or Blackmagic's integrated into it entirely. So I think it's worth downloading. If anyone's into editing videos and they are short on cash or something, this is a really powerful program called DaVinci Resolve. You can get the whole suite for free, and it can do a lot of different things in terms of custom transitions, for instance, color substitution and palettes and things like that, and creating your own custom lower thirds, that types of stuff. So if you're interested in that, go check it out. It's free.
I am now a subscriber to Adobe Creative Cloud.
Oh, so you already have that instead.
So I have the Creative Cloud now, and it's
Adobe's
cheaper for me, thank God.
So you have After Effects?
A month. Yeah, so I have the whole suite because I am still a teacher, so I get the teaching discount.
Well, I'm telling you, I don't know if this program can do everything that Adobe Creative Cloud can do, but it's free. So there's that. I know it can do everything After Effects can do.
You know, in the editing bay right now, what you're doing is we're going to have a cut to our topics.
Whoa, this guy. That's why I keep him around. Let's go. We got the topic of the show out, finally. What are we talking about today, Ivan?
No idea.
Neither do I. We always come up with it the day of, literally right before the podcast, except for a select few podcasts.
The ones we actually care about.
Yeah, those are the ones. Yeah. We just do this every week because it's a way to maintain our friendship. Yes, that's exactly what I was saying.
It's not untrue.
But hopefully you review us on iTunes. 5 stars. But yeah, so we're going to talk about today, at least briefly, stuff. We're going to talk about recent legislation in from a U.S. senator from Missouri, the fine state of Missouri, down in the South. That's where it is? I don't know.
Missouri's in the Midwest.
I know. I was thinking of Mississippi I was thinking of Mississippi for a second. That's why I said so. Oh God. I don't live in America, I swear. I wasn't educated by the American educational system. That taught me nothing. God damn it. Nothing about my own country anyways. I don't even know what a senator is. What's going on? This guy, I'm assuming he's a guy. Recently, I still have Wikipedia for Rebecca Hall up, but he put forth a potential bill that could be passed, or legislation that could be passed, that would effectively ban loot boxes in video games, much like they did in Belgium, I think. They instituted a law that you weren't allowed to sell video games with loot boxes in Belgium. I think it's official law there.
Yes.
So effectively,
I don't know if that is.
This would render loot box games such as Overwatch and the like, and literally every mobile game currently, including the new Elder Scrolls fucking game that's coming out, that is going to come out on mobile soon, if it's not already out. I think it might be out. That is effectively Skyrim, but with all the fun things taken out and replaced with loot boxes, from my understanding of that game. So yeah, Ivan, are loot boxes gambling? Do we need this in our state legislation, or should we be talking about something else? Is this a real important topic that people should be talking about?
This is for the kids.
It is for the kids.
The proposed bill is Protecting Children from Abusive Games Act, and that is clearly worth doing.
Yes.
Let's protect the chillin'. We've talked about how bullshit loot boxes are as a whole system, and loot boxes have infiltrated not just video games, but many other things now. For instance, if I want Dungeons & Dragons miniatures from WizKids that are pre-painted, etc., I buy a brick of them, and it's like trading card packs. Like, I open it up, and it's a random...
You don't know which one it is?
No, I don't.
Oh, my fucking God.
Which is why
two of
the figurines that I got in my last set are worth $45 and $30 respectively, and I can just sell those two and have bought this whole pack for like $20.
Okay. Well,
which is good for me.
Can you sell them back to the same shop? Will they actually give you that price?
I can sell them on eBay.
Okay. That's a better... Hey, I can give you some tips on selling things on eBay now, because I successfully sold my camera and shipped it all the way out to Puerto Rico.
There you go.
It's pretty awesome.
Yes, so loot boxes, we've talked about, everybody basically knows what they are. They're a random chance to get certain loot or pay to win, as was the problem with the Star Wars Battlefront 2. So these are things that really tap into that, whatever that part of the brain is that really likes rewards for something. It's definitely has the same characteristics of gambling, even if it isn't gambling itself. But this is a
Right.
deeper level. Like we could have this conversation at a meta level about the fact that our entire civilization is bending towards this, because the
Yes.
same satisfaction that gamblers have when they play roulette or something and they win is kind of the same satisfaction that kids and
Or slot
adults
machine.
alike are getting when they get likes on a post or a text message.
Yeah,
Things like that.
it's stimulating the same part of the brain, or a very similar part of the brain, and you're getting the same hormones released for sure, which I would assume is serotonin and norepinephrine,
Norepinephrine, norepinephrine.
Norepinephrine.
That.
That's the one.
Whatever
I
the
took.
closest.
I actually have a minor in psychology, literally, because it was so easy to get. I don't understand what psychologists study. I know
My
it's
sister's a social psychologist. I still don't understand.
exactly.
So I think the basis of, let's not encourage our children to have the same system, like the reward system for gambling from a very young age. Let's not have kids have that. I think is kind of a valid point of view.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether or not this legislation will be successful in terms of eliminating loot boxes, etc., as part of that whole system that we are developing as a civilization.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it will be successful, but do you think it will be part of the solution? Is it even necessary as part of the solution?
I think it. Right. So I think that because the gaming industry is becoming so profitable, that U.S.
Becoming,
lawmakers,
it's already super profitable.
exactly, but now it's noticeable to U.S. lawmakers, which is important because they like to regulate everything, and the gaming industry has gone unregulated for essentially its entire lifespan, and that's why we've come up with loot boxes and microtransactions and all these sorts of monetization schemes, because the first person who came up with them, right, probably in the mobile market in some way. I mean, I know the first big DLC that was paid was from Bethesda, the horse armor, or whatever it was, and it was like $5 or something, which is a lot back then, and it still is a lot for $5.
Did they not have that in like
Super what?
Blizzard, World of Warcraft? Did they not have steeds and things first?
I'm not sure. I know the most famous one in console gaming is the horse armor. I'm not sure. Obviously, Blizzard is a PC company, or a company that develops games for PC, or they started off that way. Obviously, they make console games now. But so with a growing industry that is growing, that makes billions of dollars every year, and is surprisingly unsatisfied with the amount of money that they're making. I don't know if you, like, they keep trying to make more money.
Everybody does.
Well, no, but I understand you should, as a company in a capitalist society, you should strive to make more money. I get it. Or that's a lot of business practices. But when they say that a video game that sells millions of copies has sold under expectation, I think there's clear incentive there, that they're just never going to be satisfied with the amount of money. They have to make more money. So that's why they keep trying to. That's why
the idea that even if you make enough money, but you fall below the projections of how much money you should have made, that's bad for your company.
Exactly.
So you made like $1 billion, but you were supposed to make $1.2 billion. It's bad.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. That's a very good way of saying that. So when we bring up that, then there's these video game companies. They're mostly publishers and developers that are just how can we make more money? We just throw in. They're pushing the envelope here, and so they're going to as far as they can within legal laws so far. And now that it's going noticed, lawmakers are going to fight back and stand up for some sort of regulation before it gets out of hand. It's already, I think, gotten a little far out of hand in that almost every game, games are now being designed in a way. It wasn't that games before needed loot boxes to make them profitable. It's that they're being designed with loot boxes in mind in order to make them profitable. They're making the game more, it's so difficult to level up and get the good equipment. You'd have to end up playing for thousands of hours in order to do that. That they're basically paywalling good progress in video games now. So, and that's clearly what we buy video games to do, to get better and level up. Or that's like the RPG mentality, anyways. So yeah, I think it does need to be regulated in some way. And I think that children, who are the primary target for most video games, need to be kept in mind, because not every video game is for 18-year-olds, right? People who are of legal age and can make quote-unquote decisions for themselves. At that point, you can go gamble away all your money, and it was your choice. Whether or not you're addicted to gambling or not, it was still your choice, I guess, in some ways. But when you're under the age of 18, which I believe this act is designed to protect, you can't. You're not legally making that decision for yourself, and oftentimes you're not spending your own money. You're spending your parents' money. So it does end up being like a crazy situation where a kid in the middle of America really like getting loot boxes now, and is now exposed to these addictive tendencies to gamble money, and they spend $1,000 of their parents' hard-earned money for no reason, just like that, because you can do it that easily, and you're constantly shoved into these markets as soon as you open the game, right? There's an advertisement or I'm talking specifically about mobile games, but you're shoehorned into the marketplace where you can easily spend money, and it's also, some games like disguise it as you're purchasing gold or whatever it is, right? Like in-game currency, but you have to use real money to buy that in-game currency. I don't know. It's crazy.
The game developers have gotten to the point where they can mask it so well. Especially for children to not be able to fully understand this, or like, you have this much time that you can spend on this game per day for free. Yeah. But if you pay this much money, you get an extra 30 minutes. And then by the end of the day, they've been on it for like 4 hours while their parents were doing whatever on the elliptical machine. And then they get back and there's $400 deducted from the credit card. Or like, there were kids who were playing some sort of fish aquarium game and spent $2,000. I mean, I know that we've talked about it previously. Uh-huh. It's just, there's a ridiculous amount of that, and encouraging the cycle of kids feeling rewarded for these kinds of purchases.
Yeah. Bright lights, cool, cute characters. That's all it is. So, yeah, that's one thing going on in American politics.
But the interesting thing is...
Oh, wait, you've got more.
So there's two more things on this. So one is that as much as I oppose the majority of Senator Hawley's views on things, he's like anti-abortion, pro-Brett Kavanaugh, a lot of that stuff. Mm-hmm. It's interesting that he's introducing that, but also the fact that he's only 39 years old.
He must have children that are using these microtransactions. He's like, hold on, possible. I just lost $5,000. I gotta stop this.
So, I think that's interesting that it took a younger senator in order to start getting engaged on this.
Is it interesting though? Like, or I mean, it is interesting, but is it surprising though?
It's not surprising.
Yeah. Okay.
No. It is interesting.
It's definitely interesting. Yeah.
But the other thing is that Maggie Hassan, a Democrat from New Hampshire, Democratic senator from New Hampshire, has asked the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, to investigate the practice of video game loot boxes Then she asked that last year, and they're going to hold a workshop about the issue in August. So there will be more development. So this bill is being proposed. It will have to come out of committee, then the General Senate, and then it will have to go to, I think, committee in the House, and then General House. And then, if no changes occur, then it would go to the president. So that's
funny.
It's a really long, complicated, arduous process.
Obviously, yeah.
However, the FTC could make a decision, and that would be very quickly enactable. So August might be a way more interesting time to delve into the idea of what are loot boxes doing to our
economy.
Society, and is it worth preserving them, or should we really rethink the idea of free gambling for our kids?
Yeah,
like there's a reason that gambling is a adult viewed as an adult thing. And we should really consider whether or not the kids should be exposed to something that looks like gambling, even if it's not gambling.
Yeah. No, it's definitely an interesting topic. We will be more... I'd love to be in the Senate hearing. I guess it's a hearing. I'm not sure. Or whatever meeting.
Federal Trade Commission workshop.
I'd love to be at that workshop because it's definitely a meeting of old, probably mostly white men, discussing like Candy Crush. I think I'd love to understand. I'd love to be in that hearing.
Discussing Candy Crush would be awesome.
But yeah, so we'll discuss this more in depth in August. If you guys
we'll revisit the topic.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Hungover podcast so you can get every podcast downloaded to your phone. But Ivan, there was one more topic we wanted to talk about. I know you're pretty cool. I know you're pretty cool. There are some recent discussions about tariffs from the U.S. on Chinese imported goods.
Yeah.
What's going on there? What's going on about that? What does that mean?
So the basic principle of a tariff. So you have tariff is basically you have an importing country. That'll be my fist, and an exporting country. That'll be the thing that Jeff Goldblum does to demonstrate chaos theory in Jurassic Park. That's the hand symbol for.
He should get an honorary PhD. I think. He's
a great jazz player, apparently. Jazz pianist.
That's great.
So, importing country can produce steel and sell it for $1. Exporting country can produce steel and sell it for 80 cents, and including shipping, etc. So, companies in importing country that use steel will obviously buy the 80 cents version of steel rather than the homegrown dollar version of steel.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why we have imports. There is another country that has a competitive advantage to produce certain goods, and they can produce it cheaper or more better quality, something that makes it more intrinsically interesting for a importing company to use as part of the fabrication or as a purchase for a final good. So nice. We have that with steel and aluminum, for instance, in March or April of 2018, President Trump introduced the first tariff of his series of tariffs on those things worldwide, including from China. More recently, he has imposed a high technology tariff on high technology products coming in from China to the United States. So what a tariff would do is, rather than being $1 here and 80 cents here, you'd put a tariff on any goods that are imported. So that would be paid by somebody, but it would make the product a little bit more expensive. So rather than, if you put a 20-cent tariff onto that steel, whereas originally it was $1.80, 80 cents for the exporting country, $1 to produce in the importing country. Now with that 20-cent tariff, they're both $1, so it makes them competitively equal. Now you can do it a little bit more in order to encourage businesses to buy from your own homegrown industry. You can make it a little bit less so that there's kind of a balance, or you can exclude it at all, and therefore you just import the cheapest kind of products and materials. Tariffs
Okay.
are good for companies, but also they're good for consumers because it makes products cheaper. For instance, why do we have a lot of manufacturing that comes from China? Is because it makes it cheaper to produce and cheaper to bring to market. So if we have things like steel beams from Japan and China, those are cheaper. But that doesn't just make steel cheaper, it makes buildings that we make with steel cheaper. And same with aluminum, right? So it doesn't just make aluminum cheaper. Whatever we build with the cheaper aluminum
Yeah.
is also cheaper. So it benefits consumer in that way because the consumer can have very cheap goods.
Mm-hmm.
Tariffs are imposed to presumably fix the disproportionate trade imbalance. And trade imbalance is not trade imbalance is when you import more from a country than you export to that country. That doesn't mean it's necessarily a negative thing, because while you might have a physical goods difference, you also might gain a monetary advantage. What this means is that so China, although we have a trade imbalance with China, the trade imbalance made goods so cheap and made that Chinese companies gained money and they had to invest. Well, where did they invest? They invested in the most secure financial investment possible, the U.S. dollar.
Mm-hmm.
So then that in turn makes credit super cheap in the United States. This can lead to really bad practices, though, where financial companies then want to make as much money as possible. And that means that everybody gets access to credit because it's so cheap, because Chinese companies are investing in the dollar. So there's a lot of money available in the United States very cheaply. And then they give it to everybody because they don't care. If you buy a house, they'll foreclose on it. But this can lead to that. This is basically the scenario that led to the 2007-2008 global financial crisis. So a trade imbalance isn't at its core a negative thing, because it can help the other country with cheaper access to credit, which increases the amount of possibilities for business growth or business development, things like that. But Donald Trump, as the president, really is focused on the idea that manufacturing is really important.
Okay.
And
yes.
Bringing up domestic manufacturing is super important. He's doing this in an ass-backwards way, and doesn't really fully understand...
But his heart is there. His heart is
Sure.
there.
Doesn't fully understand how any of it really works, and it's going to cause increases in costs for American families. The latest estimate was about $750 per year on average per family of increase, as well as almost 1 million jobs lost across several different sectors.
So we lose jobs because he's trying to bring jobs to America. Is that what you're saying?
Because of the increased cost of supplies, so let's say that you are a manufacturer of computers.
Yeah. And
you have to use aluminum. So if you increase the cost of aluminum, then you have to spend more on supplies. Spending more on supplies, exactly, means that you can't increase research, you can't increase factory building, etc. So it's just like, when you increase the price in one area, you have to balance it out with reduced costs in other areas to maintain that idea of profitability that we were talking about earlier. So this can lead to job loss and things like losing almost 1 million jobs because of the increase on half of the goods that are imported from China to the United States. And Donald Trump isn't going to stop there. He's already begun the process of filing paperwork for like $323 billion worth of goods. And on May 18th, he has to make a decision on whether or not car manufacturing requires a set of tariffs because it's part of national security, whether or not the tariffs should exist on those products too.
So what you're saying is it sounds like these are all negative things, negative outcomes from imposing tariffs. And I think that's the general consensus on Trump's presidency, is he's had a a lot of the things that he says that he's going to do, which I'm, again, not sure that he's ever done anything, honestly. I don't know.
I mean, he did impose tariffs on a lot of products.
Okay, but so that would imply, if there's a lot of negative outcomes for the economy, wouldn't that imply that our economy is going down the drain? I don't know if that's a logical conclusion. Would you agree with that? Because
that depends
my
on sectors of the economy.
Yeah, so my follow-up to that is that, and the only reason I know this is because he's my godfather, this person.
Donald Trump is your godfather?
No, yeah, I know. Let me tell you, that's why I really support the guy. No, I don't. I do not support Donald Trump. So my godfather is been investing money.
Brave of you to say that you don't do that.
has been investing money for my mother and I in the stock market, and he's been telling me that the stock market's just been going up since Donald Trump has been president. So I don't. Maybe he's only investing in certain things that are going up, obviously. But wouldn't you correlate those two things? Surely the economy is intrinsically tied to the stock market. And this is why I want to get a stock market expert. Anyone who's an expert that listens to this podcast, please contact us. I would like to have you on the podcast.
Finance and stock are a funny thing.
Yeah.
Because stocks are not necessarily linked to the actualities of
a business.
What happens. So, for instance, you have the most basic way to explain a derivative.
Yeah.
So
see, I should have studied economics when I was in college.
It's really tough.
I think it's really interesting topic.
This is why math is really important in finance.
The Chinese person coming out of me.
It's become really, really financial packages are more and more complicated.
Yeah.
The most basic thing is, so a farmer needs a loan at the beginning of every farming season in order to get crops, seeds, things like that. They arrange for a contract by which I will buy this many things and I will sell it to you at this cost at the end. And I will sell to you this many bushels at this cost at the end. Now, if the farmer produces more, it's better for them because then they can sell more at that price or at a different price.
I've played Harvest Moon. Yeah.
This is called a future. A future is basically a contract by which you're like, this is how much we will sell this for in the future. Now, if a farmer produces more, it's good. They have more available to sell, etc. If they produce less, it's bad because they still owe the amount that they agreed to pay up at the end of the contract. So if they said 100 bushels at $1 a piece, and they only produced 80 bushels, they still owe that 20 bushels for $1 left over. This is why tariffs are bad for soybean farmers, because they expected soybeans to be at X price, but because soybean purchases have gone down due to the retaliatory tariffs input by China, they will not be able to reach their goal. So if you have soybean futures, it's not great for you, or because the price of soybeans have gone down or something like that, So essentially, parts of the stock market will fluctuate based on the reality on the ground. But now you have a derivative on that soybean future. So now you bundle a few futures together, and you say that you can take a percentage of this. Basically, you bundle up a few of those futures together. You create a financial product on those, and you're like, we can sell you a bunch of these, and you will get a percentage interest on a bunch of these. But the other company will basically just take the cash for the product that you're getting. So what you're doing is, you are a business and you take on all these futures. You bundle all these futures together and you sell them for a reduced price to some other company. that other company hopes to gain interest on the rates at which you have sold these futures. And then you can create further products, which are a bunch of these bundled together packages, interest rates, and then you do interest on those interest rates.
Gotcha.
And these are just derivatives of derivatives of derivatives with no idea of the underlying banking system underneath. That's what happened in the 2007 financial crisis. So sometimes, yes, things are completely
It's a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, basically.
Yes.
Sometimes finances is linked to the reality of the world. Other times it's not. Sometimes it's just linked to
numbers on a screen.
Basically, what the proposed rise of a stock will be. For instance, Disney, when they announced Disney X, their stock rose 11%.
Disney Plus.
Disney Plus. There's nothing about Disney Plus. They haven't released it yet.
Right.
But the idea that they will be releasing this product increase the stock market. Now, Donald Trump's presidency is linked to the stock market in that the president encourages or discourages confidence in a market. He has no ability to actually influence the stock market as it is.
Okay. They're just independent entities.
A stock market and the economy are linked to the presidency in that if he encourages or discourages regulation and things like that, then it can be linked. I need to take a breather here because I'm going to pee my pants.
Me too.
So I'll be right back, dude.
All right, cut. And we're back.
Hey.
All right.
So, in terms of Donald Trump's presidency and financial markets, another reason that the stock market grows is because of investors not knowing where to place their money. And often stock markets grow when the choices of investing into infrastructure or things like that are diminished.
Yes, I understand.
And so confidence in other sectors of the economy are lower. So where do you invest your money? Into the stock market. Because that's just the available place to gain some sort of prospect of revenue.
Okay.
I don't think that they're intrinsically linked to a healthy economy and a rising stock market are not intrinsically linked.
Yeah.
And a stock market growing, it doesn't mean that it's growing in a healthy way. Especially with the reduced restrictions on, the restrictions that were reimposed following the 2007 financial crisis have been eased. So it's a lot of, it can be a lot of really unsafe business practices in terms of where money is going to and how profit is being derived. Okay. And this is something that Adam Smith was against, by the way. Adam Smith was against rentiership, and rentiership is basically when you aren't using a product in order to gain money, but you're gaining money on interest of interest.
I see. Well, yeah, no, that does make sense. Like you're making money off of
the fact that money is having an interest being made off of
yeah. And I totally understand. I was surprised because it was so sounds bad, but it's so easy to make money if you know what you're doing with the stock market, which apparently my godfather does, because I signed over all the money I had saved up over the years, and I trust him obviously, and my mom has been using his services in this way for a while now, and so that's enough trust for me, and he's made me a lot of money, and I didn't have to do anything. We're giving him some money. This is what you do for a broker, right? You give them a certain percentage of the money that you make. So he's essentially our own personal broker, which is really nice. But yeah, so it's just it's the stock market is crazy, man. It's why I need to talk to finance people, but they seem to be all assholes.
Well, if you know calculus,
which I do.
To an extent. No, I was saying that you know calculus.
Oh, yeah.
And to an extent in which you can understand the math of a lot of this stuff. So if you can do that, then you're super, like, in a way better position than a lot of people.
Yeah, I was thinking about my next degree should be an economics degree, or a comp sci degree.
Habitual student.
Yeah, I love learning, so I do want to be a student more. Even though I'm coming close to the end, so I can't believe it.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I'm defending my dissertation on June 5th, everyone. You should come on this podcast. No, but yeah, so they're not tied together intrinsically, or they don't have a direct relationship. They affect each other in terms of sitting president and the financial market and the economy. There's no direct relationship between any of those, I guess, except I guess sitting president and economy are more directly related than finance and economy in some ways. So that's good to know. I was suspicious of that, or I suspected it was something to that sort of explanation. Thank you for explaining it to me, Ivan. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about? We've gone for a bit.
Dude, no, I don't really want to.
God, no.
Go on another tirade.
Okay, we should have. I like the economic discussions here. So if you want to hear, and I think our podcasts are better if we're both really behind, like wanting to learn more about the conversation that we're having. So if you guys want to hear more about this, tell us, and we'll try to come up with a more research topic, I would say. Maybe on the underlying, maybe you can teach us all more of the underlying basics of economics. I'd like to learn a lot about that. So I have to hey
oh,
I
boy.
have to I mean, you can explain it way better than I can. I would have to come up with some questions and then give you like a month to prepare, but that's what I would want to do.
Probably would be nice. I can explain the basics of supply and demand, but at a macro level, how that all works is a little bit more challenging. Like microeconomics is super easy. So microeconomics is basically you have X product and you have people who want to buy that product. How do you find what price to put at that? But macroeconomics has a much more complicated like twists and bends, and you don't really fully understand all that's going on. There's things like behavioral economics, which are stuff that I don't even really fully grasp.
Cool.
And from an epistemological basis, don't understand. So yeah, we can talk about it for as much as we want, but I am a semi-expert, I would say.
And I'm still on a quest to get someone who understands the stock market on our podcast. I'll figure it out. We're 108 episodes in, so that should be enough famedom for them to want to be on the podcast. For sure. No one listens to our podcast. We've done so many. God damn it. Please tell your grandmother that and also wish them a happy Mother's Day. Because happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. I know our podcast comes out a day after, but Mother's Day. But to all the mothers out there, you are the reason we're all alive, and also the reason why the world is going forward. Thank you so much. But we end our podcasts every single week in a song in a segment called Hungover Radio. This is where you, the listener or viewer, can send in your music to get free advertisement and also to share with the community of the Hungover Gaming, which is... How many subscribers do we have, Ivan? I must know. 97 subscribers strong. Of course, we are striving super hard, which we could easily just push it over the limit by making some fake accounts. It's just 3, you know. It's not that hard. We're trying to hit 100 subscribers so we can do a great Let's Play on our YouTube channel, which I'm super excited about, where we're going to buy each other shitty Steam games and play them for you. I think we'll call it the $5 Steam Challenge. We might have to adjust that price depending on how...
We're doing 15 already.
15? Oh, well then Well, are sales included?
Oh shit. Well, we'll figure out.
Yeah, we're gonna figure out the
rules,
rules, the logistics. But if no one sends in their song to gaminghungover@gmail.com, links in description below, then I get to pick one. And when I get to pick one, it's going to be a video game song because I like video games and they don't give us copyright strikes for video game music. So today I was thinking about Metroid Prime 4 and whether or not it's ever going to come out because they completely restarted development on that game. They announced it 2 E3s ago, and then earlier this year they had like a depressing Nintendo Direct where they just announced, they're like, we're really sorry, but we have to completely restart development of this video game. So you won't see anything about it for like 2 years at least. But
that's brave though.
No. So I really think that being transparent about that stuff has totally weathered the storm. And also it's really nice that Nintendo would do that, so we're not all just like frothing at the mouth to get this game. But Metroid Prime, the original, is one of my favorite games on the GameCube, and I like the intro song, so we're gonna play that for you guys, the main title theme for Metroid Prime. Hope you guys enjoy it. Hope you guys enjoyed and learned something from this podcast. We try to be as educational as possible. You know, I think at heart we're both educators, but
true.
There ain't no money in that, kid. All right. Unfortunately, that's something we could talk about as well, but
and we have in the past.
Yes, we have. Go look at our podcasts. We have 108 of them now.
We talked about everything.
We are out of topics. Please send them in also on gaminghungover@gmail.com. We're gonna have you know what we can do, because no one listens to our podcast, is we can just rehash topics.
Or just play old ones.
Yeah.
And just take a break.
I think we're gonna try that one week and see if anyone notices. All right. I wonder does YouTube detect that and delete? Like, if you upload the same video twice, does it know?
It must, right?
It must know. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. We'll catch you guys next week. Goodbye.
Bye.